everyone, this is Adam Sandman here, and I'm going to be showing you today how you can use Amazon's Kiro together with SpiraPlan from Inflectra for project lifecycle management and QA management, and Rapise, our test automation tool, to create a complete end-to-end agentic flow. In my previous video, hopefully you've watched, I took a project requirements backlog from SpiraPlan and I used Amazon's Kiro agentic development tool to take that requirement spec and build out a complete working application. In fact, here is the working application right here. It is the library information system that lets you log in, create books, and edit books in a fictitious online library. And this was built using requirements that we created in SpiraPlan as part of our product backlog. We also use the Inflectra AI functionality in SpiraPlan to create test cases, tasks, BTD scenarios, and identify risks. We also use it to help both write the requirements and also validate them against the EARS standard. We then used Amazon Kiro to build this application. But now, how do we QA this application? And that's where Rapise comes in. Rapise is our test automation tool that integrates very closely with Spira using the Spira dashboard. What we can do is go into Rapise and create a new framework. And in that framework, we can then build out the test cases. And then what we would normally do is then manually create the tests either in Rapise here, or we could pull them from Spira if they already existed. So if they exist, for example, here, we could use those. Now, the problem is we haven't yet written the test cases. They've been designed in Kiro in Markdown format. To go into Kiro, for example, right here, you can see some of these tabs. These are our test cases. Kiro has written out for us a very detailed definition of all the test cases. It took our high-level tests that were in Spira and has decomposed them into much more executable elements. Now, Rapise has an AI engine that lets you run tests automatically using AI. So what we want to do is now close that loop and take the test cases as defined here in Kiro, based on our project spec, and push those into Rapise. Now we can do that using an MCP server. In my previous video, I showed how we could use the Spira MCP server, which is right here, to pull the spec from Spira into Kiro, and that's what was used to build our spec, which is our test case markdown file, requirements markdown file, task and design markdown file, and I use that to build out my project really quickly. I can do the same thing using the Rapise MCP server. This MCP server is right here. It includes functionality for creating test cases and taking the information in Kiro and pushing it into Rapise. So where we left off last time is we have our working application, and you can see here's the information from Kiro about how we access it, the URL and the default login, the password. And the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to have Kiro take this working application and the tests and push us into Rapise. Well, that's really easy. So I'm just going to use this new command. Can you create a Rapise automated test in the current framework using our spec? So I go ahead and do that. And Kiro now says, I see you have Rapise MCP tools available. Let me create automated tests based on the spec. First, let me check what tests we have. So it's running through here, and you can see it's going. And while we're waiting a second, it's calling the MCP tool, create test case, and list test cases. It gets the list of test cases already in Rapise. And then it uses our special MCP tool, import manual test case from Spira. So it uses that to create the test cases from Spira, and we'll be using those to build out the test cases. Now, the test cases in Spira only contain the name and description. They don't include the detailed steps that we see here. But that's okay. We have those already in Kiro. So using Kiro, it is now able to update the test case scenarios using the data in Kiro. You can see here's the detailed spec step by step. And once it's done that, it now creates the test cases here in Rapise. You can see here, it's created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 detailed test cases, and it's created an end-to-end scenario that pulls them all together to log in, create a book, edit the book, delete the book, and log out. And it's created 18 detailed test steps with preconditions and test data. Now what it did is it created them in the special folder in Rapise, and they're configured for the Selenium Chrome browser, so the Chrome browser. So let's go ahead now and pop over to Rapise, see what they look like. Here they are in Rapise. If I just expand my test case folder, you'll see right here. And then we look in the LIS tests. These are the tests it created. So let's look. First, it created a login with valid credentials test. And it created a login here and a login here. And then if I go to this top one, you'll see here, it put in all of the A information here. So it puts in the detailed steps right here in the AI format. Now this is using the AI format that we have in Rapise. So these are executable elements. You can take this exact set of tests, and we can then play that through a browser. And by doing that, instead of having to manually go into Spira and import these, or go into Kiro and import these, using the MCP server, it has basically built an end-to-end complete test here. It's also built out the individual test cases as well, but log in with valid and invalid credentials, and then the overall scenario. This is actually a completely playable test in Rapise. To do that, we would go into the AI command, and we basically can show the AI panel, and we can use that to then generate the appropriate executable scripts to run against the application. Now, one thing to notice, if we go into Rapise, it looks like Kiro has only created some of the test cases fully fleshed out. It's created out this end-to-end scenario, but hasn't created some of the other ones. But that's okay. I can have Kiro do that for me. So if I go back into Kiro, let's go ahead here, and let's do that. So let's go ahead and have it build out I've asked it to create the detailed steps for the other test cases. So it's doing that right now. You can see it's reading the test case file. And there we go. I'll run that. Try that again. Okay, doing that. So it's basically calling a variety of different tools, Rapise MCP tools, to update. So run again. Let it finish. And that's the great thing with Rapise. It's a conversation. With Kiro, it's a conversation. So if you find it doesn't do something you want, you can just ask it. And if you agree, if you like what it's doing, you can just trust it. And that way, it won't keep asking you to run each particular task. If it's doing, in this case, 4 different test cases, adding the steps for, it won't have to ask you each time. It will just run them through. So now this time it doesn't need to ask me. It's just going to go ahead and do it. And while it's doing that, I'm going to pop over to Rapise here, and you can see if I go to this one here, login with valid credentials, it's built out my test steps already now. If I go to the create new book, it's done that as well. I'm going to close some of these so we don't end up editing them at the same time as Kiro. But you can see here, our end-to-end scenario has got steps. Our login with valid credentials has got steps. Our login with invalid has now got steps. Our create new book has got steps. And our validate book entry has also got steps. So every single one of the test cases now has a detailed set of steps defined by Kiro, which is great. So it's built out my 5 different test cases automatically into Rapise, where I can now actually run the application. Notice it's actually put preconditions, test data, and the detailed steps. So now that we have our test cases defined in Rapise, the last thing we need to do is make sure that Rapise can actually play these tests. I mean, these are displayed here in natural language. So what we'll do is we're going to use the AI panel in Rapise to verify that it can actually access the application itself. So let's go ahead and show the AI panel. And let's see what happens if I click generate. There you go. It's added the command to open up the browser. And we can do the same thing here. I'm going to select all the steps here. And we'll do up to login. And we'll generate all those steps. And show the panel for this one. And you can see we go ahead here. Test script. There they are. All the steps, perfect. And now we'll do generate all. It's calling our AI engine, and let's see. And enter librarian. Let's go ahead. Test script. Test script. Okay, that worked. And let's enter librarian in the password field. You can see here it's building out the code. Perfect. So there you go. It is built out all of the necessary code to verify that the username field is visible, the password field is visible. It's built out the code for the behind the scenes for the login button is available. It then sets the text appropriately and then does the login. So we've now turned that test case from Kiro for the new functionality right here into executable test script. So these steps can all be executed automatically in the browser. So let's go ahead. I'm going to run steps 21 through 26. That is verifying everything from login all up to the login button. Now I haven't done the rest of it, but we could do that as well, easily enough. So let's go ahead. I've selected those rows. The application is here. Let me just log out, because obviously we need to be logged out first. And now I'll just head back here. I'll do right click, place selection. And I'm going to hop over to the browser, and it's now going to run the test. And you can see here it's logging in correctly and turns up the pass. Perfect. So we've now tested the user interface of this application. So basically, just to put it all together, we took a set of requirements and test cases defined in Spira. We used Kiro previously to build out our entire project, and it developed the application autonomously. We then took all of the test cases and QA information from both Spira and Kiro together, and then we used the MCP server for Rapise that's in Kiro. And by using that, which is right here, it was able to build out automatically these test cases in Rapise And then using the AI functionality in Rapise, we turn these natural language test steps into executable code that we can then run. I did it for a very simple use case, and in about 2 minutes, I was able to take the entire test information and play it. So at scale, this allows you to take requirements and test cases written in natural language to build an application in Kiro, and then using our automated QA system, Rapise, we can turn those into automated tests that can run end-to-end scenarios. And then when you change the spec in Kiro, you can just ask Kiro, hey, can you update those test cases in Rapise? Just using the MCP server, and away you go. That's how easy it is. So with this, we now have a full end-to-end AI agentic lifecycle, starting with requirements with SparrowPlan, you're developing code into Kiro, and then testing them in QA using Rapise. And of course, with CI/CD and deployment and monitoring, we can use the wider range of AWS services like CoBuild, Code Pipeline, GitLab, EC2, ECS, other deployment methods to deploy your application. So now the AI software development lifecycle is available and real. Thanks for watching these videos. We'll be posting more information as we add more functionality and increasingly add more integrations between the Inflectra platform and Amazon Kiro.